Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our penultimate session of the iFX EXPO. This panel is going to be very, very interesting. This is covering the best ways to market your business in 2022. So we all know as the world is continuing to feel the ripple effects of the pandemic, shifting customer values and rising costs, marketers need to innovate and change. So we have a star-studded group of experts here who are going to talk about changes in marketing over the last year. I'll introduce them briefly. Your moderator is going to be John Lewis, the co-founder and CEO of Funnel Cross. And our panelists, you can please raise your hand when I say your name. We have Bojan Ninkovic, the digital lead at Ultimate Fintech, Charlotte Day, creative director at Contentworks agency, Helen Astaniou, chief marketing officer at TIOmarkets, and Laoura Salveta, partner and director of marketing at 120 Advertising. Let's give them a big round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel, and thanks a lot for the enthusiasm. I wasn't expecting so much enthusiasm after the party yesterday, so thanks a lot. We just wanted to get into the questions, and I know that everybody's been dealing with COVID in their own businesses, but I think what we wanted to ask in the first question to our esteemed panelists is, how have you seen COVID having an impact on your business and having to pivot, either for your business or for the brokerage that you work with or your clients? Who wants to take it first?
Go on, let's do this.
Okay.
Let's do this. So we work with brokers and fintechs, so we're an agency, so I'm not speaking as a broker. One of the things that we're very aware of is that brokers saw a massive influx of trading volume in the last 2 years, which is fantastic for them. I mean, really, they were seeing so much extra trading volume. But the downside of that, of course, is that a lot of the people who came along to trade were new. They were newbies, and they didn't necessarily understand the terminology, the trading platforms. They didn't know what they were doing. And of course, responsible brokers, it really is their job to provide really solid education, which we did in the form of content. So we were translating what the news meant, because no one wants to regurgitate the BBC. No one wants to be doing that. We were talking about what the COVID situation meant for traders, how they could actually trade, breaking it down into nice, simple terms, working on educational structures, and of course doing that through easy, bite-sized videos that people could really understand.
So educational content, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's the one.
I was gonna back you up a little bit and say that. I think that there was so much uncertainty with everything going on that people were hungry for content, and it was really a time where brokers could actually find ways to start conversations and continue conversations with their clients. And I think anybody who really became, like I say this and it sounds a bit cheesy, but who had marketing KYC, so in the sense of who really knew their client and really knew what the client wanted, those were the brokers who were going to absolutely kill it, you know. So
segmenting your audience and then providing them the relevant content. Awesome.
Yeah, I felt that the change was even more bigger. Meaning, with the pandemic, it kind of disrupted the lives, and in that sense, it's absolutely changed the way how we do business. And we are extremely happy having you all here as organizers of iFX EXPO. That wasn't possible, so that was quite relevant and changing the scope of services. And in a way, people, by changing their lives, the touch points have been changed. Maybe even more, the rise of the work from home also extremely changed. I think if we look at the devices, like the mobile is so now in front that you almost cannot find people behind the desktops anymore. So the change is quite dramatically.
Yeah. And then you see a lot of brokers and different businesses trying to catch up to make sure that they're fully responsive and that, it's not a mobile first, it's like mobile only. You should only care about mobile and then desktop later. How about you, Helen?
So I've left myself last here so I can disagree with all of you. So I come from the broker perspective. So I remember when COVID first became big, like all of us, we had that major panic. Do you remember? What's going to happen? What's going on? What do we need to do? What do we need to tell our clients? All of our clients, of course, they're going to be searching COVID in Google. Of course they are. Let's build some COVID landing pages. Let's do this, let's do that. That lasted about a month. And
It was kind of horrendous, actually, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They were
And
probably searching for toilet paper.
The search has changed. That sort of panic and COVID-related content, of course, was so important, and it set us on a good path. But then I think the changes that really we saw last year were not because of COVID, at least from my side, from the trying to get the marketing team to perform. It was more like, what is Google doing now? What is Facebook doing now? Just trying to keep on top of that. And the changes that we saw really were a move towards a more technical marketing team instead of a comms-based marketing team. Not to say comms not important, very, very important, but just more on the skills set.
I would agree with that completely. Even the concept of making the agile teams more prone to like developers, how they work, and connecting all of the departments, because as you mentioned, Google, it's always about the search intent. So it's not really easy to connect your content on website and your businesses with what's trending at the moment. They just won't accept that.
Yeah. Okay, I think that rolls into the next question, which would be, how would you see the most effective channel going in that period of COVID? I mean, what pivots did you have to make, either as an agency or as a brokerage, to actually keep up with the current trends within the COVID period of 2020, and then obviously moving into 21?
So one of the big trends that we really jumped on was video. Of course, video was already huge, but during the pandemic situation, people using YouTube went up to 80% from around 70 before. They also went up from spending more time watching videos. So they were spending like 65 minutes every single day watching videos, which is huge compared to what was happening before. So one of the things as an agency that we were really focused on was video marketing, but getting clients to really understand that video across different channels is different. So I don't want to see you try to put your 3-minute educational video on TikTok. Please don't do that. TikTok is something different, but it doesn't mean you can't have both. So you've got your entertainment, your education, your newsworthy stuff. That was something we were really focused on. And of course, Reddit with Wall Street Bets. That has 10 million degenerates, as they call them, on the Wall Street Bets. And we're all about Reddit. We really, really love it for seeding content right now.
Awesome.
I think I back Charlie up. Sorry, I'm actually following you. So coming from agency side, anybody who tried to keep that kind of really professional, financial look and feel about their business, I don't think people related to it, So the more and more there was the Zoom calls and your kid or your dog running around in the background, and that started becoming more and more funny, and people jumped onto that.
Suit, tie, and shorts.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. That's really true, actually, because there's a whole TikTok channel of people working from home with their pets, and it's far more popular than anything official.
But I think so for any brokers who decided to take a bit more of a creative stance on how they were doing their marketing, that's who was kind of catching eyeballs, But obviously, in saying that, you also need big budgets in order to kind of back up that material.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Regarding channels, I mean, search, display, and social. They've been giving us the best results, definitely. I mean, it's about hyper targeting advertising. Really committing to connect the search intent with the right messaging in the right moment
and the right audience.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Taking the time to actually segment your audience better, so you can actually be more efficient.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Helen?
I have to say, this is a horrible question. I know I have notes here, but I don't like the question at all, because it's so hard to talk about one channel when you're challenged to market across so many, and performance on one potentially can't be measured, so you don't know. and won't even be effective unless you have performance on another. It's just a disaster.
So on that, how have you seen the measurement? Because I think one thing is actually tracking. Is there something that you've done with your team?
You're going to get me upset now if you start talking about tracking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'm sure lots of people feel my pain. Anyone feel my pain?
I feel your pain.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things that I would also say on that is putting yourself in the position of the audience. So it's really important to remember that your audience, yes, they're traders, but they go on social media for social, to have fun, to relax. And there was a survey done quite recently on Facebook and Instagram, which they really are finding to be very toxic at the moment for people. And they were saying that 3/4 of the posts on Facebook and Instagram are negative. Whereas on TikTok and YouTube, it's the opposite. TikTok is a lot of positive content. So in terms of those kind of metrics, I'm all about that, like the positive content. I think we should be adding to that.
I'm going to go to my boss and say, people feel happy when they see my ads, therefore I have performed.
Do it.
I'm going to try it.
Do that.
I think he'll be okay with it. But I suppose the sum for me is that there's not one answer. I think all of these answers are 100% correct and only work together.
So,
really.
So the importance, or maybe it would be, is that you have an integrated marketing plan that touches multiple touch points, multiple devices, and segmentation, so audience and profiling them so that you're being more efficient. But I think the major challenge, which we didn't want to talk about, or the elephant in the room, is tracking. Which obviously there are some institutional trackings like Google 360 and stuff like that, but they're very expensive. So a lot of people and brands that I've seen, they just want to use Google Analytics, and the free version, there's only a certain amount of stuff you can do there. So I think over time, these kind of more institutional tracking systems will start to come available.
Totally agree.
The other thing to mention, which from an agency perspective and some brokers that I work with, it's shocking how many people are not looking at what's actually the response of, let's say, your analytics in line with your CRM. I find that incredible.
And it's not just the industry. It's like many industries, they don't connect the visitors to the actual lead, and then what happens with the follow-ups after. It's definitely a space where I think needs a lot of improvement.
You mentioned Google 360. It's extremely expensive, but I think also that people didn't went deep enough regarding, for instance, Google Tag Manager, which is also a free service, and utilizing all of the power that you can extract from that tool, because done properly with the help of developers, which is really, really important, it becomes extremely powerful tracking thing. And there are, of course, channels which you cannot maybe attribute everything correctly, but you can at least feel the results. When it comes to some specifics, definitely.
For sure.
The reason why I think that they don't in a lot of cases is if you have a small marketing department and you hear about a new channel and you think, I have to be there, I have to be on this new channel, and you're adding channels, but you don't have the content and you don't have the social to put on each of those individual channels because they're all different audiences. So what they do is they either neglect the analytics, as exactly what you said, or they copy the same content across all of the channels, which really defeats the object. It's a different audience, different analytics, have less channels. Don't have them all.
Agree.
Agree.
We were also, so we had a little background chat, which we probably shouldn't have, but we did with Helen, with regards to, so what's hot? TikTok's hot. However, with TikTok, you need a solid strategy. You can't just throw up, as you earlier said, financial, boring, educational videos.
Absolutely,
That is not going to work. And not only that, you probably get blocked all over the place.
Exactly.
So,
actually, TikTok and Reddit are two channels that really hate marketers. They even have a subreddit, like, we hate marketers. They really don't like them, so just don't be going there with your marketing stuff there.
I'm actually surprised that you brought up Reddit.
Yeah, I mean, we seed a lot of content, so I'm not going to give you all the details because it's naughty, but seeding content on behalf of brokers, on behalf of traders. But, you really have to be very authentic when you go there. Don't be going there like, come and trade on my platform. Yeah, for sure.
I believe customization is also very important, and we're speaking now mostly about the B2C segment, but B2B is kind of accepting digital as a digital first, up to COVID pandemic, it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
We are seeing now that maybe over 50% of the budgets from the B2B will go to digital, and they need to kind of accommodate to everything. So it takes time. It takes time also to get to the level where you are utilizing all of the aspects and all of the touch points in that sense.
So with regards to that, I think native is obviously a key, you know.
Yeah.
So using your, and with native though, I think it's not just about throwing content up there, but it's actually following the kind of full flow of backing up how you're going to follow up with the people that come through. You know,
I don't even maybe like using like B2B or B2C because it's always about the people. And when you say speaking or leading the conversation is starting to be like the necessity through all of the phases of the funnel. You know, no matter what you do, you need to kind of start and lead the conversation all the time. It's not about the right material or a right, a right trigger for something. It's about leading conversation because it's always about people.
Absolutely. But, you know, one of the things that obviously due to COVID, as we've seen, a lot of, you know, for B2B brands, events were so important. So offline was such a huge factor. And I think they've had to adapt very quickly on how to have multiple touch points in order to...
But they've had more budget in order to do digital.
Yes, they've had the budget, but they didn't have the knowledge or the know-how. So I think they've
That's why there's agencies, John.
There you go. All right, so Helen, this probably is an exclusive question for you. Being the only person representing a broker, what are the key products or asset classes that have you seen trending, post-COVID?
So it's a good question. I think the answer to that is there's not one answer, essentially. What we see is very often you get sort of these funky instruments that everyone's getting excited about, like maybe let's say Bitcoin that had the massive rise.
Yeah, the big jump.
And let's say now with Facebook, everyone's talking about Facebook because of the mess up that happened. So I don't relate it to COVID so much. I relate it to sort of what's trending in terms of what our clients are at least coming in for. Okay. So they'll come through the doors because they're interested in Facebook now because they just heard that their shares dropped 16%, whatever it was, or they want to get in on Bitcoin, whatever it is. But then once they're in through the door, then we see them with very different behaviors.
Okay.
Yeah, we see them facing the reality of the financial marketplace and assessing their trading very, very differently. So, so I suppose the short answer is the stocks are very popular, the really trendy stocks, Tesla,
like
Apple.
Facebook is down, their outage, by now. So do you see this kind of instant or almost like interactive or real-time ads, or have you, and maybe this is a more open question in terms of the usage, because you can get quite responsive with like the things you can do with HTML5 and responsive ads. You could like pull a feed of how the market's interacting and show, let's say, what's on the downtrend or the uptrend. Are you guys seeing
Can I just quickly jump in and say, everybody firstly needs to have an integrated marketing strategy. If not, you're missing out on a whole world.
Yeah.
And also you need a long-term strategy as well as your responsive strategy in order to use any kind of trending topics. And the other thing is, though, if you do catch people in your funnel with possibly trending keywords, I think it's also, you can think about them as maybe the less experienced, the less knowledgeable. I don't know how you all feel about that.
No, I could say the same. We sort of use Twitter more for following the market trends, but it's so fast moving, isn't it? You really have to be following it constantly. Elon Musk just should be put in a room somewhere so I can have a day off, because every time he's tweeting something, the market.
Elon Musk should be on this panel.
Yes. Yeah. So but for sure, integrated marketing. You're right.
Okay, well, that actually ties in well with the next question, because the next question was going to be, if you were to think of 2022, what would be your go-to high-level multi-integrated strategy? You should do these 3 or 5 things in order to have the most impact.
Do you want me to speak again? So I would say not to forget that retention is important, and retention not in the boring sense of how, let's say, brokers currently see it, but also to sell it to your management that it's really important to have behavior analytics to back up what you're doing and really speak to your current clients, because look, at the end of the day, it's cheaper to get them to pump volume than in order to acquire a new client, and it's often overlooked. I mean, and top level management thing. Sorry. Take the floor.
So Helen, what's your cost per acquisition at this point?
Interrupt there. Sorry, to kill the vibe. So every single broker, agency, whatever it is, has a different strategy according to what their product is, what their positioning is, and all of that. And for me, at the moment, so this is a very personal TIOmarkets shameless plug. I'm very interested at the moment in timeless content. So that is an article that somebody might be Googling various keywords, and they'll come up with one of my, be it an article or a video or a landing page, or you can use that timeless content in so many ways across so many channels, and it all links. So that's really what I'm going for at the moment because of the longevity.
Building the power page.
Building the?
Power page.
Oh yeah, nice.
Nice, Bojan. You got a word for it already.
Yeah.
You guys should team up.
The power page is exactly timeless content, which you constantly add, set up, and from the perspective of the search engine optimization, you get something which is quite powerful in ranking for the specific terms. Yeah. I would add on maybe from that point that aligning all of the elements, as you said, it's not for every business the same, or it can be the same thing to do. You need to align from the business perspective of the goals and the ability and what can be done in that sense. But definitely we see a rise of many innovative things, such as because of the multitasking, work from home, the voice search is becoming more and more popular, so you need to adapt to that. The performance and mobile first, so go to your websites, check the performance, invest in what needs to be done, so the ability of content to be visible to people in a fast and useful
User
way for me. User experience in that sense. And of course, we will see a lot of things happening on B2B side, which they still need to kind of cover and. Definitely, but it will never change the feeling that people have when they meet.
Of course, I don't think that will ever change. Yeah. We're social beings. I think COVID kind of changed that for a certain period of time, but I think a lot of people, as we've seen, are eager to get back into the flow of things. So I think over time it might kind of come back a little bit in terms of the percentage of budget spent for B2B on offline and online, but I think there'll always be that natural kind of connection to doing both. So I think it'll be interesting to see what brands do in the coming days.
I think, I mean, for me, the key word is trust. So I think there's a massive lack of trust online at the moment in general. No one believes anyone. Everyone's fact-checking everyone else. No one knows. No one trusts anyone. And this is really, really apparent in the finance space because there's been so many scams. You know, we had the ICO age, which we all know about, the 2017, 2018 ICO age, where you couldn't believe anything. It was like 87% of them ended up being scams. So I think one of the things for me is start learning to build trust with your content. So that's things like CSR, corporate social responsibility, employee advocacy, doing things like AMAs. So ask me anything. Do an Instagram reel, an AMA. Be much more transparent and stop putting just your logo out there. Start putting your staff on there. Start being a bit more real and talk to people like humans, because at the end of the day, as you said, we're always B2C. We can say we're B2B, but we are B2C. We're B2Human. I mean, if nothing else. So that would be my go-to.
Also invest in building an app, guys. Yeah. I mean, it's so like... It's... Why are not more brokers just... using their money wisely.
Well, I think, I mean, on the technology side, I think a lot of brokers challenge to find, again, it comes down to skill set and having an aligned skill set that can build an app and then integrate into, let's say, the
Or white label.
Yeah.
There is an issue with financial decisions making on a small screen. People tend to kind of see a big picture in front of them if they want to make a decision that's kind of can influence their life. So that might not change in that sense.
I think for the professional traders, they're definitely going to trade from a big screen. But I guess for the small, not the ones that are targeting the newer trend or millennials that just want to buy quickly or sell quickly, they may do that. But okay, so to summarize, very targeted content, power page, and having a multi-approach to your interactive strategy for 22. So the last question, I want to take some time because I want this one to be quite actionable because as Helen said, if you go and tell your boss, we're just going to make a bunch of happy people, they're probably not going to be very happy. They want leads, they want clients, they want prospects, booked meetings, traders, institutional clients. So I just want you guys to dive into some actionable tips or tricks that you guys could give out there so that anybody in the audience could go back to work and try it out and see how it might work. I know Helen's shaking her head because she's thinking, what can she actually say? But I think for the rest of us, we could probably give a little bit more. So we'll leave you to last, Helen.
Okay. I mean, my actionables, obviously we're a content marketing agency, so I am biased. I'm going to say content. However, what I would say is people are really getting protective over their data. So if you want leads, you really have to give people something. Think yourself, what would you do in return for your email address? Don't be telling me subscribe to your newsletter. Why? What am I going to get for subscribing to your newsletter? What are you going to give me? So I would say giving somebody really, really high quality, insightful content on your landing pages in return for leads. And you can do this to nurture your leads along the way. So let's say, for example, it's a new trader, a brand new newbie, and they don't know anything about trading. You're going to say, like, who are the coolest people on Twitter who trade? Like, let's find out. Here's the top 10. Download this ebook and find out. And then they're in your lead funnel. But a little bit further along, when they're a little bit more experienced, you might give them some kind of high-level tips, for example, to just nurture them. And as Laura said, to be a bit more focused on retention as well. Yeah. So I think that would be my actionable. Really think about the content that you're putting out there. Don't rush it. Don't put out cheap, meaningless content.
Take time to make it valuable.
Take the time to research it, make it valuable, give really insightful content, and do so along the lead process.
Yeah, I think that's a great one. That's one that we've seen different industries do, like value-based lead funnels, where you give a report or market opportunity, and people obviously want that content, but you have to invest in that content. You can't just get, somebody just writes something.
And you know yourself, John, as a marketer, you know what you will give your email for and what you won't.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm pretty picky. What I'll actually sign up for, it's got to be good.
Yeah, I mean, look, a lot of our content is out there, so I know a lot of us probably use, different emails that are not our actual ones, but like for LinkedIn, for example, with Sales Navigator and Lead Scrapers, they can take your data. So if you're on LinkedIn with your actual work email or anyone can get that. But yeah, I agree. It's more important to get somebody to want to give you their information where they're getting something back in return than just taking it and then spamming them with an email or something like that. So
I'd say do things differently. We haven't kind of touched on influencers today. However, influencers can come in many forms, as educators, as idols, as trenders, and use them. Why not? Use your budget wisely. Don't do the same old boring stuff.
Absolutely. I think like what I've witnessed being done with influencers is mostly affiliate or IB based, where hey, let's get the top influencer and just give them a percentage based rev share or CPA deal. But it's not so easy on the bigger ones. Obviously, if you do it at volumes with the smaller ones, that's something definitely could be done. I think it's not being done as much as it should. Yeah, for sure.
Or properly.
Or properly. Yeah.
I would want to start, or maybe the advice would be to really understand your position. standing in front of the mirror and seeing yourself, but from the brand perspective or business perspective, understanding fully what is your position. If it's a growing business, then start building partnerships, get backup. If you are small, find somebody strong, or find somebody who can tell you exactly who you are and what is your position in order to start building a proper moves for your business growth. So in that sense, maybe that would be influencing. In that sense, is exactly finding the relevant backup for you, or the partner who could either provide you trust or make the integrity on your side, or say this is very good. Because we are seeing that even within the brokers, like copy trading is something which kind of probably made so much with people to build trust that they can do something on that side, to less complicated stuff. So start by really knowing your position and then start from that point.
Perfect. Helen?
Well, as there are lots of competitors in here who are bidding on the same keywords as me, one thing you should do, all of your budget on print ads on buses. That's it. Only that. Leave the space for me, please. So I struggled with this question because obviously I don't want to give my secrets away.
Sensitive.
But there are no secrets, obviously.
They're written on your hand.
They are. They're here. Get your copies here. Actually, I will concur as well with what Bojan said. I think the important thing here is what are the skills in your team? What does your company need? So try and marry those. And sorry, I'm jumping a little bit just to connect as well what you said before, which is don't be on TikTok unless X, Y, and Z.
Right.
So sort of what are you trying to achieve? What is your goal? What are your realistic targets? What is your budget? All of these things. And then say, right, we've got to stop TikTok.
You know, for humanitarian purposes, I have stopped CEOs from going on TikTok. I will stop you. I will stop you. Please don't do it. Yeah. Get away.
It's like the viral video.
That's it.
It's like the viral video. At one stage, everyone wanted a viral.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, when you speak to, we know some video producers, they want every video to be viral. So, you can't make an interview, viral. But,
We definitely can't make your company presentation viral if it's 20 minutes long and you want to stitch together.
No, but saying that, I just want to put one thing, and this goes into video. A lot of, if you look at everybody that's here today and you walk around, everybody has that similar pitch, right? Or everyone pitches somebody with a certain way, but nobody has really thought, you want people to meet you and then get pitched, right? But nobody's really pushing the pitch directly to the audience a lot of times, and you can do that in a very targeted way. Let's say using LinkedIn, where these are the people that are going to see your ad, and show them a video, obviously not in a direct sale way, but do it in a certain way where you're presenting your products and services, where you can build that trust, but you can also let them know what you do.
Sneaky, John. Sneaky.
Yeah, sneaky little.
Totally agree. And just on that, and don't do what you won't be able to do well. Just leave it. Leave it alone.
Absolutely. Or your team don't have the skill set, right? Or and if it is a major channel, or you want to get into doing things better, you might need to have some tech people join the team. And I think marketing's changed to the point where you could just have a creative team, and they didn't have to be too tech savvy. So what I'm seeing is a lot of businesses have more tech teams or tech people joining marketing, where marketing has the lead on tech, and they don't just get into this pipeline and never action anything, like, oh, my quality score on Google is terrible, can you help me fix a landing page? No, we're building an app, or we're doing this, or we're,
You know what, though, that's also why we re-strategize every single year with clients, because so many things change. You might do a strategy like 3 years ago, but the team has changed, COVID happened, your channels have changed, you can't have the same strategy going. It's completely different. So that would be another thing, like start thinking now. I mean, we're in October. Obviously, we've already started on the Christmas marketing. We've already started for like 2022 planning, but people need to be thinking about a strategy going forward into 2022 that's realistic and relevant to what you actually have right now.
Exactly, and I think what you mentioned as well, a lot of you guys mentioned, is having realistic KPIs, not, we want to be a eToro next year type of thing, give it at least 3 years or something.
Everyone does say, that is what they'll say.
Yeah, but like a lot of people are not measuring, or they don't have the key points to measure, and I think that's the thing they need to get first right, or integrating their traffic and their CRM and how that talks to each other. Yeah. So I think we have 10 minutes just for some questions and answers. So we'd like to just ask maybe the audience if they have any questions to the panelists.
Don't be shy.
Don't be shy, guys. There you go.
Right, so this is more for Helen. Anyone else can jump in. How do you market, but at the same time, stay non-aggressive to be compliant with the regulators? So how do you draw that
Thank you
line?
for that question. Like that question, John. Like that question.
Sorry about that. Anyone from compliance or SciSec here? Just put your hand up, or no?
So
Just so Helen knows what to say or not.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
So I don't think it's just us. I'm sure it's not just us. It's probably everyone in this room hates that big bonus, win a car, get rich quick, all the stuff that makes our industry look like rubbish. I tend to avoid that completely, and that might harm me. Honestly, it might harm me in terms of lead acquisition, but it doesn't harm me in terms of conversion. So what I've seen in the past is if I've got a big bonus ad, which regulators, of course, never done that, I will get loads and loads of leads in, of course, but they will not go on to have long trading careers and deposit lots of whatever it is in order to get the value that your company needs from the client. However, if I go out there with an authentic message, then I have to spend more, first of all, definitely. So that's a hit, bam. And but it's worth it if you get the ROI. So yeah, it's hard, but it's not impossible, and it's the best result.
Maybe I'll just add to Helen's comment there, is that you could use either a non-branded funnel, so like for your kind of conversions that, let's say you want to pass through somewhere where you don't want your brand to have impact, you could either create another brand, or you can have an affiliate or an IB do that. Because essentially, let's be real.
Are we allowed to say this?
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't work for a broker, so.
I was going to say it, but John said it, so it's okay.
Yeah, the elephant in the room is out. For the last 10 years, all affiliates have been doing this. Okay? So, yeah, just kill the elephant.
No,
I might get tackled by a regulator later.
I think those kind of churn and burn, get rich quick landing pages and campaigns serve a short-term purpose. However, from a long-term kind of brand and reputation perspective, it's definitely not the way to roll.
Exactly, and also you could generate a whole bunch of leads if you don't have a sales team that can actually handle those type of leads. And usually there's no direct relationship there, because let's say a regulated broker and entity doesn't usually have that set up in the organization. So usually those are the challenges that they would have.
I would also say, just to add to that, with regard to compliance, one of the issues is that marketing and sales very often don't speak to compliance. They're up in some office in the top of the building. No one wants to go near them. They're kind of breathing fire out of the offices and no one wants to know. I think actually understanding the rules, what is the FCA, what does SciSec say, what do all the regulators say, and how do we work the content, and can we talk to the compliance about, are we allowed to say this? Can we shorten the risk warnings, for example? We've had great success directly communicating with the compliance officers and saying, hey, listen, your paragraph of risk warning really isn't great for Twitter, where we literally have like 180 characters, 140 characters. So can we shorten it? And actually, usually you can. You just have to understand what the rules are and, slightly bend them in the direction that you want without snapping them.
Or maybe add only just as perspective of digital, that if you don't do it yourself and kind of limit yourself not doing that, soon it won't be possible anyway. The upgrades of recognizing and the ability to put down your ads is is getting higher and higher, so it won't be possible soon.
Awesome. Any other questions?
Hello, I have a question for Charlotte. You're talking about the content marketing and stuff, about knowing all the rules. But how long is actually take for the person who does this content? Because we were talking about to create content that takes time, so you need to do research and stuff. Like my question is like more professional. How to onboard this person to teach it, and how long it takes to this person actually to deliver content like your clients need?
So that's an excellent question. And I have to say, when I started off in the Forex sector, like back in 2012, 2013, I was a content writer. So I am speaking from experience. I know exactly how this is. They're telling you, write brochures, do this, do these website copy, but also write really compliant content, and you're trying to keep up with everything. Obviously, that's why people outsource to an agency, because we do have a team of writers whose job it is to keep up with this. However, what I'd say is subscribe to alerts from the key regulators. This is what I do. I have alerts on one of my email addresses coming from the key regulators, which I will read pretty much every day. We also have an internal briefing between us where we will brief on, okay, this is the updates from these regulators, and then we'll do like a roundup every month. So I don't want to say that it's really easy, and a lot of pressure is put on content writers, but if you subscribe to the alerts and also follow them on the social channels, because they will usually put out like their key announcements on social channels, and then it's sifting between like, okay, this isn't really an important update, or, oh my God, this actually really affects the content that we're writing. But it is really a daily, weekly thing to have that information.
One more question, like, but on scale, okay, like, for example, in our agency, we have like a couple hundred people, you know, and just to teach someone, like, for example, if I need to, we have like Forex rating review website, and we have like 1,000 pages, right? And it's 10 different geos, like different countries. So you need to be subscribed to all this stuff just to manage this crap, right?
Yeah, I mean, you basically do. I mean, you do need to be subscribed to that stuff. Or if you're a big agency, you can dedicate one person to be in charge of that and updating everybody else on the key stuff, because a lot of it is sifting through the non-essential stuff. But obviously, when they make announcements on cryptos in China and they've suddenly banned things and things like that, it's really relevant, and we have to know about it for the content.
Do you rewrite it after, or you just say, like, we need to correct it SAP?
Yeah, well, we kind of have an ongoing relationship with the clients, so we know what they've put out there, and we will usually advise them. It's another reason why it's better to be on less channels and to have not too many landing pages, because if you're having to rewrite all your channels, all your landing pages, all of your content, that's really time-consuming. So, yeah, less is more for that.
Well, thanks.
We have one more. I think we have time for one more question. No problem.
So I picked on Helen before, so Helen, I'm going to protect you now. Because I know it's a subject that you don't want to talk about, which is tracking, right? So I've got different paid acquisition channels and PR that I'm doing. How do I know which one is giving me the positive ROI? And so that I can spend more on that, and what's not. Because if I'm running everything at the same time, yes, I can use landing pages and some tracking, but I don't know if, you know, what's bringing me.
Yeah. So this we kind of mentioned is kind of our predicament right now with the not having, let's say, a lot of brands don't have robust tracking where they can measure the multi-touch points, because you mentioned PR. PR, when they make an announcement, usually you'll get some traction immediately and then that'll die off. So what I would say is segment your budgets into brand awareness and direct response. But then they should somehow interlink, because they have a very symbiotic relationship where the brand awareness will build the trust and credibility, but then your traction will be built online. I'll give you a perfect example, because Plus 500 is definitely not sitting here. They sponsor Real Madrid. right? That's their brand awareness, but then they're also on search, they're also on Google Ads, so they're using kind of these multiple touch points. And yes, at the end, when they're doing their audit, they'll take the whole budget and divide it by how many customers they got to get their acquisition costs, but they have a different strategy for their awareness and a different strategy for their performance. And I think each brand and every business has to be true to itself to say kind of like, what stage am I at? If I'm a smaller to medium-sized broker, maybe I can only do affiliates, IBs, and a little bit of digital. As I grow, maybe I'll tie in some PR and awareness and sponsor Arsenal, Real Madrid, or what have you, from my side.
If you're doing digital, then you can track almost anything. In that sense, use B tagging, custom URLs that will show you in your analytics where it's coming, the traffic. Make then attribution models that will then kind of see how this went through the funnel, what was the first point of the awareness, as John said, what was the consideration point, and when was the activation and conversion on your side. On brand awareness thing, if possible, use brand tracker agencies that will tell you what is your position within the top of the mind of the users on the specific market. And in that sense, regularly doing this kind of research will tell you exactly what your investment in that sense is bringing you.
If I could counter that, I actually think that the only real way to tackle this, please correct me if I'm wrong, but you must accept a level of loss. You have to. There's just no way. And the fact of the matter is that there is a place for educated guessers. And I don't mean like inventing figures. Let's take an example. Let's say you might have a campaign on DuckDuckGo that hides all of your tracking, your UTMs. There's no way, let's say if you're using the UTM convention at least, that you're going to see who came through those ads. You cannot then say that that campaign is a failure. So maybe in that example, you would use a specific campaign, maybe only pick an instrument, any instrument, just for DuckDuckGo. And then perhaps anybody you see coming through that landing page, you can attribute.
Yeah. Also, I think the head of sales should be your best friend. Literally, as a CMO, head of marketing, you need to be talking to sales all the time. You are not against each other, you are friends, and they need to be giving you insight into what their team is coming back with and the responses.
Yep.
Like, visit that CRM, just understand it, and that's how you know what your brand authority is, I guess.
Yeah. Exactly.
I would also say, just to finalise on that there is an element of vanity boosting and vanity PR. We all know that it happens. We know, for example, brokers obviously buy their awards. I found that out actually in 2014 and I nearly cried. I was writing a PR and I found out.
2 years later.
Yeah.
After.
But there is an element of vanity boosting. So, for example, on Facebook, if you're boosting posts, you kind of have to because the engagement's 0.27%. It's really low. You have to boost the post to get that kind of engagement. But the chances of actually getting leads from that and actually getting business from that is pretty low. So I agree with what Helen said. There is an element of like, okay, we are just doing this to kind of big ourselves up and look a little bit good. Just don't spend too much money doing that.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. I think that's all the time we have today. Thank you.
Thank you.